Hi, Shwan. I just signed in the YouTube. I wasn't sure how long it'd take, so. But I'll go ahead and do roll. If you want to look, yeah, I mean, it's weird because there's like this weird delay, but it seems to work when I'm in the office, so I don't need the code, but yeah, so it basically just comes up on the website.
Okay.
And you can see that it's live here right now, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's easy. Just select the one that says YouTube. That's the only thing you have to really remember. But
yeah, I know for most of the login and everything.
yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm gonna shut my door. But... Yeah.
Okay. I left my laptop home. I took my husband's laptop.
Oh, uh-oh.
It looked the same. So my presentation is in my laptop. I'm going to with my husband.
You know, can I just run through it for you? Like, you just want to tell me when to advance the slide? Would that work? Are you able to go on Zoom?
Yeah, but the PowerPoint I showed you yesterday was.
Oh, it's saved on your hard drive?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, we have the one for HC working group as a backup if that works.
Because I can't get it from my husband, I would just use that one.
Okay. All right, we'll go plan B. I think you're third on the agenda, so you have some time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you got some time.
All right.
No worries. Morning, everyone. Just gonna wait a few more minutes to get started. I have 8:58 and I see people still trickling in, so probably just another couple minutes or so. Jeff, I have 9 o'clock, but why don't we give it just maybe one more minute? There's still some people rolling in here.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Morning, Dan.
Morning. Well, I have 9:01 by my watch. Why don't I, or Jeff, I'm sorry, do you want to go ahead and call the meeting to order and I could do roll call?
Absolutely. So I'll call this meeting to order. It is 9:01 on October 1st, 2020. And Dan, can you take the roll?
Absolutely, thank you. So I'm just gonna go off of my list here. Kevin Very? Kevin, are you on the call?
Sorry. Yes, Kevin is here.
Thank you. Tara Smaltz,
Morning, here.
Kurt Dietrich,
Present, thank you.
Jeff Borkart,
Present.
Amber Sosa,
I'm here.
Ian Crittenden,
Present.
Mitchell Fink,
I'm here, thanks.
Julie Olander.
I'm here.
Thanks, Julie. Daniel Inouye.
Present.
Thank you, Daniel. Chris Talley.
Present.
All right. Scott Nebeski. Or do we have a representative for Scott for the Reno Sparks Indian Colony? Okay, not seeing any. Sandy Freund? Or anyone for the Washoe County School District? Okay. Lisa Butterfield?
Good morning, I'm on.
Thank you. Do we have Enos Hahn? Not seeing Enos. Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum, and I'd like to just, for the record, identify anyone else that's here as a participant, including myself, Dan Dengis, RTC. I do see Amber Bowsmith, RTC, Bill Thomas, RTC, Christopher Cobb, Reno Tahoe Airport Authority, Dale Keller, RTC, David Carr, RTC, Doug Malloy, RTC, Jim Gee, RTC, Mark Maloney, RTC, Megan McPhilly with LSC, consulting firm, Melissa Chandler with NDOT, and Stephanie Haddock, RTC, and Shen Wang, RTC. I believe that's everyone, but if I miss someone, please feel free to speak up. Okay, hearing none, I think that's everyone. Oh, and I will note at 9:04, looks like Sandy Freund with Washoe County School District is joining the meeting. And also just a quick reminder for everyone to please mute your microphones unless you wish to speak. And if you do make a motion on any of the agenda item, please state your name for the record. And Mr. Chair, if you wouldn't mind repeating who made the motion and seconded before taking a final action. And I believe that should cover everything, and we can get right into it. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dan. We'll move on to item number 2, public comment. Dan, do we have any public comment?
I did not receive any public comment.
Perfect. So seeing none, we'll move on to item number 3, which is approval of the August 6th, 2020 and September 3rd, 2020 meeting minutes. This is for possible action. So does anybody want to make a motion on this?
Chris, it's TMRP. I'll make a motion. I have one point of clarification. That is the actual, I think it starts on page whatever, but the transcribed portion. Are we basing our motion off of that or on the kind of typical minutes that we see?
Yeah, Chris, thank you for noting that. We have been a little bit short-staffed, so we acquired the services of a court reporter to take the minutes for the last month's meeting. So the format is slightly different with that, but that is an official record, although extremely detailed. I believe it captures verbatim what everyone said, but yeah, that would be the format that we are accepting those months or the September month minutes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. I did note that there is one name that looks like it's spelled incorrectly on page 14 of the packet, and I think that's Mr. Michael Delude. But aside from that, everything looked good. So I'll make a motion to approve the 9/3 minutes as well as, looking for the date, the August 6 minutes.
Thank you. We have a motion from Mr. Tully. Can I get a second?
Second by Daniel Inouye, Washoe County Air Quality.
And then a second from Dan anyway. Is there any discussion on this? I mean, I will also note that they are very detailed on the second page. I was reading through and saying, oh my goodness, they captured everything I've said. But does anybody have any other discussion before we take a vote? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, no one opposed. So the minutes are approved. We'll move on to item number 4, which is to acknowledge receipt of a report regarding the update of the 2015 Coordinated Human Services Public Transportation Plan. Dan, do we have a presentation for this?
I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Myers or someone from our PT team. Sorry, I don't think Jennifer's on the call. Jim.
Dan, I'm filling in for Jennifer today.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep, no problem. Good morning, everybody. The RTC is in the process of updating its Coordinated Human Services Public Transportation Plan for Washoe County. This plan is required by the FTA to be able to receive grant dollars under what's called the Section 5310 grant program. These dollars are designed for projects that improve transportation options for senior citizens and persons with disabilities above and beyond the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act. We're using a consultant to develop that plan. And with us today is Megan McPhillamy from LSC Transportation to give us an update on the development of the plan. So Megan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jim. I do have some slides I was hoping to share. I can pull these up. All right, hopefully you all can see that. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan McPhillamy. I'm a transportation planner at LSC. I'm here today on behalf of our project manager, A.T. Stoddard, and the rest of our team to give you an update on our progress. So since we last met with you, I believe the last time at the beginning of September, we have finished our second interim report. And the report itself details the analysis of the community survey we conducted, an assessment of transportation needs, discussion on coordination strategies, and provide some preliminary recommendations for implementation. So quick highlights here for the community survey. We had it open for about a month from August 6th through September 1st. It is available both in electronic and PDF versions on RTC's website. It's available in both English and Spanish. We received a total of 155 responses, one of which was to the Spanish and the remainder were to the English version of the questionnaire. We had assistance from RTC's customer service staff, as well as the paratransit service provider to assist callers calling to schedule a ride to also complete the survey, which was really helpful. We also provided information to a wide number of local, regional organizations through a series of stakeholder meetings. Highlighting some of our results, we saw that approximately 62% of respondents said they were not able to drive or do not have a current license. Approximately 65% of respondents said they do not have access to a personal vehicle that they drive. Approximately 48% said that they sometimes need a ride but do not have one. And then about 36% of respondents said that they live near a bus stop but have a mobility limitation that limits them from walking to a bus stop or boarding a vehicle without assistance. For respondents who said that they sometimes need a ride but don't have one, approximately 59% said that they were unable to get a ride for a shopping trip, followed closely by about 58% who said that they can't get a ride going to or from a medical appointment. We also asked respondents what issues deter them from using RTC services, taxis or TNC, transportation network companies like Uber and Lyft, or other transportation services. The top responses were that they're too expensive by 42% of respondents. It's too far to walk to access the service by 40% of responses, and that they're apprehensive or fearful, which is by 33% of respondents. Key findings from both the survey as well as stakeholder meetings and other information gathering about unmet transportation needs included a lack of affordable transportation, a need for door-through-door service, so providing additional help to passengers, serving a limited service area, can't reach all destinations, a lack of accessible vehicles, although we should note that this is not for RTC services, as RTC vehicles are accessible, but more for the taxis and TNCs and other transportation services that aren't always accessible. The requirement for advanced reservations can sometimes be hard for people to make last-minute trips, and that limited service hours can sometimes play a role in not getting a trip as well. We also provided key findings on coordination issues, which included a lack of information about available services. People don't always know what's available to them, difficulty matching resources with needs, and then agencies being focused on their own clients and services, which can sometimes lead to duplication of service in terms of geographic service area. So at the end of the report, the final section outlines a variety of different coordination strategies. Our preliminary recommendations include 2 different strategies, the first of which is creating a local coordinating council, which provides a forum for setting up service as well as coordination priorities. It allows key stakeholders to develop recommendations for program funding. It can also help to resolve coordination issues and identify and overcome barriers to coordination. Challenges associated with the local coordinating council is that it requires an organization to be responsible for both forming and administering the coordinating council. It can also requires participation by all funding agencies and transportation providers, which can sometimes be a challenge. The second recommendation is for a one-call, one-click center. Benefits and advantages include that it's a single point of contact for users, and it can enhance opportunities for regional connection. The basic capability for operating a call center already exists in the region. RTC is currently the primary operator of paratransit services and could continue to provide the core of these services with other providers serving the individuals with higher levels of need. It can also provide improved operational efficiency, and the cost savings could then be used to enhance services. Challenges associated with the one-call, one-click center include that the technology must be implemented for all providers. It also requires detailed cost analysis for each participating provider. And then efficiency is really gained by you mix passengers on the vehicles. So coordination there, but for all different types of passengers. So next steps for us, we are working to put together a draft plan that includes everything thus far in both of our interim reports, as well as address all staff comments received on both the reports. The draft plan should be released later this month. We will also be conducting public and stakeholder comments for the draft plan during the month of November in conjunction with the regional transportation plan. And then we will, of course, have presentations of the draft plan as well. So with that, in my screen share, happy to address any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you so much, Megan. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Well, thank you so much. Can I get a motion to receive the report, or at least acknowledge receipt of this report?
Amber Sosa, City of Sparks, so moved.
Kurt Dietrich, City Arena.
Perfect. We have a motion from Amber Sosa and a second from Kurt Dietrich. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, seeing nobody opposed, we'll move on to item number 5, which is to acknowledge receipt of a report on the status of projects administered by RTC Engineering Department.
Thank you, Mr.
lost Dan. Oh.
My apologies, I had my video off. Thank you,
No,
Mr. Chair. I am going to turn this one over to Doug Malloy, Engineering Manager at RTC. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks, Dan, Mr. Chair. For the record, Doug Malloy, Engineering Manager, RTC. I do want to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint presentation here for you to look at. Can everyone see that?
Yes, Doug.
Yes.
Yeah, you might want to switch your screens.
Yeah, it's
We're
showing your
seeing
notes
the-
page.
the-
Okay. Apologize for that. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very
Great.
much. All right. Again, Doug Malloy for the engineering manager. I'm pleased to share with you, the committee and others, some of the projects that we are in that are in varying stages of development in the engineering department. Many of them on the RTP list. They're spread throughout the region and very exciting projects. A lot of them are multimodal projects, and I thought that it'd be good to present and kind of give you an update on where we are at with these projects, varying from different stages, including construction, near construction, perhaps as early as next year, and then preliminary design and environmental studies on some of the other projects. The first one I want to talk about is the Lemon Drive capacity improvement. We've got this project in two different segments. The first segment 1, is from US 395 to Military Road. It is to widen Lemon from 4 to 6 lanes, providing safety and mobility improvements. We've got bike lanes, shared use path, sidewalk. We're doing some access management with constructing a median up and down the length of that. All of this to provide safety and capacity improvements. We're partnering. Recently, we have decided to work with NDOT. They have plans for US 395, including widening and reconstructing the interchange at Lemon and US 395. They're planning a diverging diamond interchange. We felt it was an opportunity to combine these two projects because they do connect to one another. And in partnership, we'll be completing the design. They've done a preliminary design. We're going to complete that design and include it in our construction project. This project's overall budget estimate, including that interchange, is about $20 million. That'll be funded with fuel tax and local state funds as well. Shown there on the schedule, we should be beginning construction next summer and complete the following year. The second phase is also a capacity improvement from Fleetwood to Chickadee. It's widening from 2 to 4 lanes. In addition, we're working with the county and other stakeholders to elevate the road. The Swan Lake area is a closed basin, as most folks know, and there's been flooding in past years. There still continues to be issues out there. And the county is working on efforts, including temporary and long-term fixes out there. We want to make sure that the road is constructed in a way that helps with the situation, works in cooperation. And so we're developing alternatives. We've got 3 different alternatives right now that we're currently planning to move forward to continued screening and develop a preferred alternative later this year. From that point, we will decide what the next steps are, including preliminary design and environmental as needed, and then ultimately move that forward towards construction. We want to determine what's the best construction delivery method, including potentially design build. This next project is the Arlington Street Bridge replacement. If you can see the diagram there are 2 bridges there that cross the Truckee River. The primary bridge being there just south of First Street, showing it's a very aged bridge. It's needing replacement. Arlington is one of the regional roads and a very important north-south connection. We're currently doing feasibility and preliminary analysis of alternatives. Some different bridge types will be considered depending upon the different needs and including the challenges of constructing in the Truckee River. There's various stakeholders, including the Corps of Engineers, Carson Water District, SHPO, and others that we'll be working with. After we develop the alternatives, which should be complete middle of next year, we'll move forward with preliminary design, environmental, ultimately perhaps getting to construction around the year 2026. Budget estimate for this project is $25.5 million. We'll be funding it with fuel tax and looking for other sources of funding to complete this project. Next is the Oddie Wells Complete Street project. Oddie Wells portions, or all of Oddie Wells, are formerly NDOT roads. They're fairly wide open corridors as far as right-of-way, but they also have minimal improvements. This is a multimodal project. We'll be looking to narrow the pavement widths, providing some traffic calming benefits. We're going to construct wide sidewalks. We're looking at an elevated, raised, separated cycle track in some locations, and where we can't accommodate that due to right-of-way constraints, we'll be constructing a shared use path. Numerous bus stop improvements. There'll be a complete ADA corridor from Pyramid all the way to US 395. Lighting, other visual and aesthetic enhancements are being considered in the project, and that's a concept there that you're looking at of how this road will look. It's an exciting project and will vastly change the feel, the safety, and the benefits of this corridor. The estimate is about $39 million. It will be funded with fuel tax that will allow us to construct this sooner than later, and that includes beginning construction next year. Sun Valley Boulevard multimodal improvements. We're working on the first phase of this project. Overall, we looked at from Highland Ranch Parkway down to US 395. This phase, the first phase, is in the county, is county-owned portion. It goes from 7th Avenue up to Highland Ranch. There are no real improvements out there, so we'll be changing again this corridor, constructing bike lanes, sidewalk, and enhanced crossings, including a RRFB at a pedestrian crossing. Making the bus stops accessible. We've got several bus stops along this route, and we want to make sure that there's ability to get to those. It's also an important project because of the school that was recently constructed north of Highland Ranch Parkway. There's some improvements at the 7th Street intersection, including making that ADA accessible pedestrian activated signal. The budget for the project is $9.5 million. It's about 75% complete, should be complete here a little bit later this fall. As for south of 7th Avenue, that's to be determined. That is the NDOT portion, and we'll be working through and with them to determine what, if any, phases will continue to move forward similar to this phase. Next is the Center Street Multimodal project. This project, we studied bike facilities north and south earlier. And what came out of that study was to construct a two-way cycle track on Center Street connecting the university to the Midtown area. Center Street being a one-way road we had some challenges and wanted to do some additional analysis. We did that, we completed that earlier, and now we're moving forward with the design for a protected two-way bike facility. The primary elements of the project include a lot of signal work. All of the signals will be reconstructed to accommodate, of course, the changes in lane configuration and the changes as a result of the cycle track. We also know that the asphalt pavement is in need of replacement, so we'll be looking at doing some corrective maintenance on it, obviously prior to opening this up facility and restriping it and reconfiguring it. Sidewalk improvements are included in our regional transportation plan, so we'll be looking at improvements north of 5th Street, make sure that there's continuous sidewalk, ADA accessible. And in addition to the other signal improvements, we'll be doing ADA ramp improvements at all of the intersections as a part of this project. Right now, the budget estimate is $10 million. We're looking to fund that with fuel tax. The schedule is to complete design late 2022 and construct in 2023. Next is Sparks Boulevard Widening Project. The limits of this project go from the southeast connector terminus at Drake Street all the way up to Bering Boulevard. We did a corridor study earlier, which identified needed capacity improvements and other multimodal improvements. We'll be looking at pedestrian, bicycle, bus, and of course vehicle capacity improvements and safety improvements throughout the corridor. We expect that this project will be constructed in multiple phases. And the budget estimate is over 70 million, as you can see. Right now, we know there'll be some fuel tax funds, but we'll be looking for federal and state funds as well to fund the project and through construction. The interchange will be a big component of the project, and one of the phases will include some potential capacity improvements through there and interchange reconfiguration. Right now, we're in the early stages of environmental and alternatives analysis. We'll be completing that work in late 2021. Move towards final design of a package. Most likely it would be from the freeway north to Bering Boulevard. There's different alternatives that we'll be looking at the Springland intersection as well as Bering. Should have a package final design in 2022, and the construction will be to be determined. And I put that there because we're still we have potentially a project here I'm going to talk about in a minute on Pyramid that we certainly don't want to be constructing those at the same time. So we'll be determining the schedules for construction going forward. And this is the project I was referring to. So the Pyramid Highway US 395 connector project is one that's been studied and since 2008, and we completed that study, record of decision in 2018. And it's about $1 billion project in total. We're moving forward with phase one. That's to widen Pyramid 2-6 lanes from Queenway to Los Altos Parkway, and then some other access reconfiguration improvements from Los Altos to Golden View. As I mentioned, it's the first phase of what is approximately $1 billion project overall. The budget estimate for this project is 51 million. In addition to bike lanes, we're going to be constructing a multi-use path from Disk all the way up to Golden View, which would continue forward with and connect to the west as well with the future phases. There'll be some aesthetic enhancements as a part of the project. Sound walls and screen walls are a part of the mitigation that came out of the environmental study. This is an underserved community in certain areas, and some of those improvements are required for that mitigation for the widening and capacity improvements. I mentioned the funding. Very excited to, many of you may know that the RTC recently received from the United States Department of Transportation a $23 million build grant. It's a very competitive program, $1 billion program that the RTC was one of 70 grant recipients. And it is, as I mentioned, very competitive. We're excited about that. That has a time frame for us to move forward towards construction and commit that money and the rest of the matching funds, which include state funds as well as fuel tax. The schedule for phase one is to have design complete in the fall of 2022 with construction in 2023. As I mentioned, this project now becomes a little bit of a priority because we do need to obligate those funds. So the Sparks Boulevard project schedule will kind of evolve around that. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Malloy. Is there any questions from any of the TAC members?
Yeah, Doug, this is Julie Olander with Washoe County. One of the things I've had some questions about are separated bike lanes. When does RTC propose those versus just the regular bike lanes along the road? I see that on Audi, it looks like you have those, and then possibly along Pyramid, you have a multi-use path. And I don't know if that could be used for bikes or not, but I just wondering what RTC's take is on where you put those separated paths versus just the lanes on the roadway.
Well, Audi Wells provided, because it is like I mentioned, a wider corridor than most, it provided that opportunity to take a look at that. We get requests from the various cycle groups throughout the community. This was one that we were asked to take a look at, and again, because of the space available, we were able to do that. It's not often that we can, and there's several, there's lots of right-of-way challenges on in other corridors. Pyramid, again, NDOT facility, we're going to change the look and feel of that, making it more of a complete street type project. And again, that opportunity was there, and we looked at that during the study. Dan might be able to help with other requests that we receive for cycle tracks, which are preferred amongst the cycling community as far as I know, and it makes a lot of sense. It depends, I guess, on the opportunity. Dan?
Yeah, Doug, I think you kind of covered it. It's really kind of a case-by-case basis. Ideally, where we have the room and the right-of-way, we would like to do more of a kind of a protected bike lane. That's certainly a lot of the suggestions that we're hearing from the public. We want to do things that would encourage people to use them. And I know from a safety perspective, people just in general feel more comfortable using some sort of separated or protected bike lane. So, but it really kind of depends where we can shoehorn them in. We have limited right of way in a lot of areas, and you really have to kind of weigh that against, do we need to take parking or, infringe on anyone's property or that sort of thing. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Oh, I just wanted to know so it's basically a right-of-way issue.
Well, we are looking at opportunities east-west, I believe, through downtown Reno, and then this, of course, the Audi Wells project is an east-west route. A lot of times, right-of-way constraints, certainly, condemning property and taking properties, it's a difficult balance when you're looking at these kinds of improvements. So it does come down to that, but we're also trying to regionally plan different opportunities.
I think in the next agenda item, we'll have a little more information kind of regarding that. So stay tuned.
Thanks.
Sure.
Doug, this is Tara Smaltz with NDOT. Is it possible to get a copy of that slideshow? I'd like to present it to our traffic team. We get a lot of calls regarding different projects, and also for us to keep in mind consideration for other comments to be considered for incorporation of the design.
Absolutely. I'll make it available.
Thank you very much.
To distribute.
Yeah, Doug, this is Julie Olander again. Yeah, I thought it was a great presentation. Thank you so much for all that information. It was very informative.
Thank you. And we'll be bringing back, there's a lot of projects that the engineering is working on. We'll be bringing back some other in different categories in future meetings.
Perfect. Any other additional questions or comments? All right, thank you very much. Can I get a motion to acknowledge receipt of the report and presentation, please?
Tara Smaltz, NDOT District 2, acknowledge receipt.
Chris Tolley, Team RPA, second that.
All right, so we have a motion from Tara Smaltz and a second from Chris Tolley. Can I get a vote? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, anybody opposed? All right. We are moving on to item number 6. That is acknowledge receipt of report and provide direction on the 2050 Regional Transportation Plan project evaluation.
Thank you, Jeff. I'd like to turn this over to Shen Wang, who is RTC Senior Technical Planner, and she's going to provide a presentation this morning.
Okay, can you hear me and see my screen?
Yep.
We can.
Okay, this is Xuan Wang with the RTC Planning. I'm a senior technical planner. Today, I'm going to give a status update of the 2050 Regional Transportation Plan, especially for the project evaluation. So during the past few months, we have launched a number of public outreach events, including online public meetings, agency working group meetings, and also different presentations to jurisdictions and the different groups. We launched an online survey in June and July to collect recommendations about potential improvements. And today I'm going to give an overview of these recommendations. So one of the requests we got was from City of Reno for us to take a look at the traffic circulation in the downtown area. So we started a study to make sure the roadway network has enough capacity for the growth in the downtown area, and also looked into safety, multi-modal improvements, and then especially bicycle connectivity. So this map here shows the preliminary results from this study. We have recommended safety, lighting, and transit stops on improvement on 4th Street. We looked at the existing bicycle facilities in the downtown area and recommended adding additional bike facilities to improve the bicycle network in downtown Reno. Similarly, in Sparks, we looked at the Sparks industrial area. We also looked at the existing bike facilities and recommended improving safety operations and the multi-modal transportation along Gregg Street and the McCarran Boulevard. We are also in discussion with the City of Sparks to add additional sidewalks and accessibility improvements for pedestrians. There are also recommendations on park and ride spots at 2 different locations along Gregg Street, so people could park their car and carpool to travel east to the Tri Center. We mapped all the roadway projects to show the locations of all these recommended improvements. And this map here shows the southern area of our region. And these projects include the projects that are already in our 2040 RTP. You can see those in the green lines, and also additional recommendations. The orange lines are capacity projects. The blue lines are showing the multimodal projects, and also the yellow dots are where intersections can be improved. Similarly, for central area, we can see more multimodal improvements that are recommended, and also cycle track projects. This map also includes the projects that are suggested through our recent University Area Transportation Study. Moving north, in the North Valley, Sun Valley, and the Spanish Springs, Sparks area, there are expected to have a lot of growth. We see many capacity projects, both from the existing 2040 RTP and the recommended new projects. The employment in the Tri-Center has been growing. So these are 3 concepts about connecting Washoe County to Story County through these 3 connectors. One is from Sparks Spanish Springs area directly to the intersection of the USA Parkway, and also improving the existing I-80 freeway, adding capacity, and also another connector from South Reno to the south end of the Tri-Center. In terms of transit service, people recommended us to look into microtransit to extended areas such as Incline Village, South Reno, and Cold Springs, Peppermill Station improvements and joint development, extend the Lincoln Line on 4th Street to the Legends, monorail to the airport. In the online survey, we asked the people for general recommendations on our projects, programs, and services. And for projects, we have a complete street, protected bike connectivity, and encourage mode shift. On McCarran Boulevard, people would like to see more capacity and improve traffic operations. Safety and lighting improvements, improve the signal coordination, light rail, parking lot, or parking right locations. For programs, people would like to see bike parking and lockers, mitigation of site distance issues, encourage development density, and safety programs, especially for ADA, school zone, and messaging. Trip reduction programs, pavement preservation and maintenance. For services, people would like to see microtransit and general transit going to outlying areas, direct transit routes to corporate and shopping centers, bike share and the scooters, electric vehicle charging stations. So that was a very brief overview of all the recommendations we got. Right now, we are working very hard on evaluating these projects and recommendations through a data-driven and performance-based methodology. And this is an example for evaluation of roadway projects. So this is a evaluation framework. Obviously, transit services, other programs will be evaluated differently. This also does not include group categories such as intersection and spot improvements. So for roadway projects, each recommended project will be evaluated and scored based on these criteria. Safety, congestion, bike pedestrian equity, regional plan, land use priority, pavement condition index, flood mitigation, project readiness, private and other agency funding. So after these projects are scored, and we'll get additional public input and agency working group input, and the last two criteria will be scored later. So we have presented this evaluation framework before, so most of you are probably very familiar with all these criteria. I think the only criteria we added this time is the equity piece. And this is a criteria to measure if a project is in or in proximity to an area with equity concerns. These concerns are food desert as identified by the USDA within quarter mile of a school or hospital, or census tract with higher than Washoe County average portions of disabled residents, low-income households, zero vehicle households, minority residents, and seniors aged 65 and older. And each point, each of these criteria met will be adding 2 to 3 scores to that particular project. So right now, like I said, we're working very hard on scoring and evaluating these recommended projects. We will develop revenue forecast to make sure the 2050 plan is fiscally constrained, and we will bring back these evaluation results to the public and our partner agencies for additional input. Hopefully we will complete the evaluation process and bring back the final list of projects to be included in the 2050 RTP. And that's all I have for this presentation. I'm happy to take questions or hear additional discussions. And if you have additional input or other projects to for us to consider, please reach out and let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Shen. This is Jeff Borkart. I really appreciate you including the equity consideration. So thank you very much for that. And I just wanted to provide a comment for that. I think it's extremely important. Does anybody have any more comments or questions? All right. One last thing, I think we mentioned in the past some Verdi stuff, and I don't know that I saw that on the Western map, but I'm sure it's there. Just a reminder to take a look at that area as well for improvements.
Thank you, Jeff. This is Dan Dengis, and we are currently looking at that and kind of doing a little bit of data gathering right now, just to kind of see what those current and forecast traffic volumes are, and anything that we can incorporate into this RTP, we will.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Can I get a motion to acknowledge receipt of this report?
Amber Sosa, City of Sparks, so moved.
We've got a motion from Ms. Sosa. Can I get a second?
This is Julie Olander, I second.
And a second from Ms. Olander. Can we get actually, before we take a vote, is there any additional discussion on this? All right, seeing none, can we take a vote? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, anybody opposed? All right, we'll move on to item number 7, which is development updates. We'll start with Sparks. Do you guys have any development updates, Ian? Amber?
I have nothing at this time.
Perfect.
Nope, I am good as well.
Thanks. We'll move on to Washoe County. Mitch, do you guys have anything?
I don't have anything.
From the city of Reno's perspective, we did get a resubmittal of the Prado Ranch Planned Unit Development handbook, I think the other day. So we'll start taking a look at that again. I know that relates to the Lemon project. Also, the first 3 tentative maps on Daybreak, I know I mentioned this last time, but they're making their way to Planning Commission on, I believe, October 7th. So those will be coming through, and that directly relates to the extension of South Meadows. With that, I don't think we have any more development updates that are major projects. Is there anybody else that wants to add anything in from a development standpoint? Perfect. All right, seeing none, we'll go over to member items. We'll start with the city of Reno. Kurt, do you guys have anything?
Yeah, just a few updates on the traffic engineering side. We're currently working with RTC to retime the Wells Avenue corridor traffic signals, and we're looking across all patterns on that. Additionally, as part of NDOT's traffic signal retroreflective backplate project, the city is piggybacking on the traffic control and mobilization for that project to concurrently relamp and repaint state signals. So we're right in the middle of that one. Additionally, the city submitted citywide locations for rapid rectangular flashing beacon candidates. RTC's consultant is currently reviewing those candidate locations, and final selections will be made after the consultant reviews and cost estimates are developed. That's all I have. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Kurt. We'll move on to the Airport Authority. Alyssa, do you have anything for us?
I do not have any updates. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to the City of Sparks. Amber, do we have anything for you guys?
The only thing that I would add is piggybacking on what Kurt said, the city of Sparks also submitted locations to RTC for RFPs and have been working both with RTC and Reno and Washoe County to try to find a little bit more of a regional approach to kind of provide some consistency. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you so much. Do we have anything for FHWA today? I don't know if they logged
Yeah,
on.
Jeff, I don't
Dan.
believe Enos is on the line today.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
All right, Mitch, do we have anything for Washoe County?
No, nothing. Just again, what City of Reno, City of Sparks has for the rapid flasher beacons. That's all I have.
Perfect. Dan, do you have anything for AQMD?
Yes, good morning. Besides the wildfire smoke impacts that seem to be going on forever, we've been providing comments to Reno's Title 18 Development Code update. They're focusing in on transportation-related impacts, and our comments generally encourage or incentivize reducing vehicle miles traveled, tailpipe emissions, and impacts from the urban heat island. So essentially increasing transportation choices, which will address many of those issues. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. And to Dan's point, we are bringing a lot of those revised recommendations to the Planning Commission, I believe next week, and the Technical Working Group next week too. So we have incorporated many of those comments into our Title 18 update. So moving on to NDOT.
This is Kevin. I'm sure Tara has something to offer as well. The only thing that we have is that we are taking our agreement for the Mount Rose corridor study to the board in October. So we should start getting some traction on that study. And then also we're working with RTC Washoe on a cooperative to help fund a McCarran corridor study as well. So those are the two things from planning. And then I'm sure Tara has some things from district.
Thanks, Kevin. On the operations construction side, all of our existing projects are ongoing. Par structure, SBX, so that's Spaghetti Bowl projects, impacts to northbound. Later in the fall, there will be there'll be a change in the northbound configuration. And the other big one is McCarran, the west side McCarran is all ongoing.
Perfect. Thank you both. We will move on to TMRPA. Chris, do you have anything?
Yes, just one thing. Thanks, Jeff. As part of the 2019 regional plan update, we came up with a policy regarding the Truckee Meadows annual report, which rolls in the annual report submitted by jurisdictions and affected entities into a different product. So at the last RPC meeting, or the RPC meeting this last week, we unveiled the Truckee Meadows annual report, which is a website, and that is at tmrpa.org/TMAR, TMAR. And that is going to be basically the homepage and landing site for the annual report, which I think are endeavoring to update on a quarterly basis. And that would include the information here that can be updated on a quarterly basis, as well as our land use fabric that we produce. So that is the update. Again, the website, if you want to go and take a look at it, is tmrpa.org/TMAR. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I took a look at that the other day, and it is great. It's very graphic oriented, and it's easy to digest all the information. And I encourage everyone else to take a look at it too. It's a good website. All right, we'll move on to the school district. Sandy, do you have anything?
Hi, sorry, I just had to unmute myself. No, I don't. I'm just gathering all this information up and taking notes and listening. Just not right now. I'm impressed with all the work that's going on in the region, though. Really good. Thank you.
Yeah. And it didn't look like we had Scott on for the Indian colony unless he happened to join us in the middle of the meeting, which I'm looking right now and it doesn't look like it. So do we have anybody else from the Indian colony that I'm not seeing right now?
I don't believe, this is Dan, I don't believe there is anyone else representing Reno Sparks Indian Colony.
Perfect. All right, well, we will move on to item number 9, which is future TAC items. Does anybody have any future or suggestions for future items? All right, radio silence. Dan, I'm sure you'll drum up some for us.
Oh yeah, we've always got something exciting in the hopper.
All right, so we will move on to RTC staff items.
Thank you, Jeff. This is Dan Denges, RTC Planning Manager. I did want to pass along just a couple of announcements that I was asked to report. There will be free rides on RTC transit services on Election Day, November 3rd. The route and schedule information is available at rtcwashoe.com. Just want to note that not all polling locations are served by transit. So just check the maps first. And also there will be free rides offered on Veterans Day, November 11th.
Hey, Jeff.
That's all I have. I guess I'd turn it over to any of my colleagues here.
Hey, Jeff, Mark Maloney.
Hey.
On the ride, we have October 24th is our set date to start our 2 new flex rides. One going to Spanish Spring and the other into the Verdi Somerset area. So we're quite excited. You'll see a big marketing push coming up shortly, but just wanted to let everyone know that that's coming up soon. Thanks.
Hey, Mark, can you repeat that date really fast? Sorry, I kind of cut out.
Sorry, it's October 24th, Amber.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff, I had a couple things too when you're ready.
Go ahead, Bill.
Kind of some big picture stuff that the group should be aware of. First, gas tax or gas fuel consumption is down. So we're off about $6 million year over year for gas tax. So the idea that fuel tax revenue is going to be a constant growth, we should all start maybe revisiting that concept. The other thing that people may or may not be aware of is there's a legislative committee that voted to change the Constitution, excuse me, to allow fuel tax to be used for transit, so, and other uses. So that may be another challenge in terms of the revenue for road building and road improvements coming in the future. In addition, there's a real push, of course, to move to EV, which doesn't generate fuel tax. So I'm just raising those points so people understand it's not like the fuel tax is guaranteed revenue. It's going to be a challenge. Additionally, along those lines, the transit world, it's about $700,000 per fixed route. And unlike a road where you have the initial costs, the transit routes keep going up over time. So they're very expensive to maintain. And I don't know, Mark, if you wanted to add anything on that, but it's important for people to understand that. So when you see something where, dang, smoke keeps getting to my throat. When you see something where the idea of putting transit is just kind of a comment, we all need to be aware that it is not an inexpensive thing to do. It's a very expensive thing to do. So it may be common belief, it may be people who don't understand saying we need to put more routes in, but they're not cheap and they're not necessarily maximized in terms of their use. So we're working hard here to get people on buses that we're already paying for as a community as our first priority. So for example, the bus rapid transits, we need to fill those up before we go build more routes where there aren't people on them. So I'm just planting that seed so everybody's kind of in the same mindset in terms of how we look at the world of transit. In relation to a couple things that were talked about here, I didn't see on our list, which is something we're going to be talking about, connectivity as a criteria in the RTP. Point being, in Pyramid Highway is a good example where we're adding a whole lot of capacity. You know, this fix is about 50 some million dollars or about 25 million a mile. As we add these lanes and go from 2 to 3 lanes, and then at the same time talk about issues related to safety, we sometimes are at cross purposes. The purpose, you know, ostensibly the purpose for a pyramid is to get more people in and out of Spanish Springs, but every time we have a side road that adds into it, a right turn, right in, right out, any kind of access activities or pedestrian improvements or things that are related to make things safer for pedestrians and bicyclists, we just need to be aware that those often come at the cost of capacity. So none of this is simple and easy, and I'm not telling you, I think any of you anything you don't know, but we need to constantly be aware that there's trade-offs in everything we do. So as we widen Pyramid Highway, again, for an example, we need to be really aware of what our purpose is on a road like that and maintaining its value and its integrity to meet that purpose. I'm not suggesting anything specific today, just making us all aware because this is the technical group. And then lastly, going back to that first issue about the money and the fuel tax. We've been talking here, and I don't know if Doug's brought it up yet, to revisit the standards by which or that are included in regional roads. And the reason we're saying that is because there's been a lot of drift. There's a lot of things that are being added to RTC projects and road construction that's driving up the cost per mile, which means at the end of the day, we're going to be able to do less. So if we as a community make a conscious decision for every project to have everything we can all think of, we just need to understand it comes at a cost. And that cost is less projects that are done. I'll give you a recent example that's been a point of conversation is lighting. Historically, it hasn't really been part of RTC's projects, but it's becoming more prevalent to have those included. We also talked today, and I'm not criticizing anybody, we also talked today about, you know, physically separated bike lanes and a lot of things that are good amenities for our community, but I would hope everybody on this call, because they're technical, understands those all add cost. So I just, you know, I'm not talking anything specific, but as a think tank and a technical group, I would ask us all to be aware, which I would hope we all know, that nothing is free. And so we have to make some tough choices about how we spend the public's money, which is, and potentially could become a lot less over time if many things happen to reduce the fuel tax. So I just wanted to plant that. I'm not asking for any specific feedback or comment, but it's likely going to lead to conversations as we move forward. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk.
All good points. Thank you, Bill. Do we have any other additional RTC staff items? All right. So we'll move on to item number 11. Dan, did we get any public comment in the midst of the meeting?
We did not.
Perfect. All right, so we'll move on to item number 12, which is adjournment. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
Chris Tolley, Team RPA, so moved.
I can always count on Chris to motion for adjournment. Can we get a second?
Washoe County, second.
Oh, we got 2 seconds. Chris Kurt was slightly before you, Mitch. So we'll take Kurt as a second, and we will ask for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Perfect. Thank you so much. Everybody says aye. We will adjourn the meeting.
And I'll just add
Thank
that
you.
10:06 a.m.
At 10:06 a.m.
Thank you all. Have a great
Thank you.
day.
Thank you.
Bye.